Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah? If you can, just shout. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come over here and to talk to you about some stuff on social media. This is my first time at goafest. It's also my first time in Goa. It's absolutely wonderful, I think. And I thought it would be kind of fun to talk to you a little bit about what's happening in the world today. How many of you have heard of work before? Like, use it, heard of it? Yeah? Okay, great. That's good to see a lot of hands. So basically, as an introduction to frame what we're talking about today, we have been around for about 25 years. We're known as the guys with those case studies. There's 7,000 case studies that we have. We have a lot of journals, academic journals, magazines like AdMap. You might be familiar with that. And most interesting of all, we've got about, 30,000 research papers, content, news reports, data reports, etc. So there is a lot of content. And the issue when we speak is kind of difficult because you think, well, there's so much stuff you can possibly talk about. So what do you talk about at a place like goafest? And then we have the thing about just what you unexpected as being the theme of the event. So inevitably, my brain basically went to this thing, this icon, which is what I would call social media at work. So it is the topic that most people want to talk about. Everybody has an opinion about social, about digital, what works, what doesn't work. And as a research company, what we thought is, why don't we take a step back, right? We've been doing social media as an industry for, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And the cool thing is we're at a point right now where we can take a step back and say, this is working, this isn't working. Is there stuff that you can share that we can, as an industry, learn from and use in the future for social media? And the good thing is we can. So I like this quote. It's from the VP of Samsung. He basically said, the power of social media is that it is a tactic looking for a strategy. Yeah? In the past, a lot of us do social media just to say, hey, let's put a Facebook page up, let's do something on Twitter. And there wasn't that strategic thinking behind it. What I'll show you today is, what are the things you can think about to bring that strategy to it? Yeah? So this is it. This is my presentation. Very simple. I'll talk to you about a study we did recently about social media, some of the key things we've learned. Next, we're going to go through some case studies, which is what we're known for at work. And then, of course, a quick summary about the things to think about on Monday morning. Yeah? Last month in Singapore, I was at Social Media Week, and this number stuck out in my head quite well, and basically said, from Laura Balkovich, who is the head of content for Yahoo APAC, and she said, you know, of the 7 billion people on the planet, 6 billion have mobile phones. That is more people that have phones than have electricity or running water. And of course, not everyone's going to have a smartphone, but that issue of technology is becoming so important right now for us as marketing people to get right. And I know the other speakers today and tomorrow will talk more about technology, but it's an interesting insight, I think, into what's happening in the world, right? So the state of social today. Okay, so what we did is basically, we wanted to do a study, right? Because we're an independent research company. So we said, of these thousands of case studies, let's go back between 2008 and 2012. And let's find those case studies that have won awards all over the world, academics, etc., and think about, is there anything in common amongst these, these social case studies that makes things work out, right? We came up with about 830, 840 case studies that had social media as a big part of that marketing campaign, okay? So it was quite an interesting study to do that. It took us about 5 months to analyze the learning points. So the first thing we learned, there's a lot over here. Number one is of course, everyone knows this, social media is big. In the last 4 years, it's grown spectacularly. Over half of all marketing campaigns use social media, which is shown over here. Then we said, well, does it matter which category you're in? Are some categories better at social media than others? So we made this little beautiful slide over here. We made it a bit dramatic with the index at 100. So we're saying, this is from the case 840 analysis of the case studies we've done. Here are the ones that do really well. And surprising to me, actually, it was actually government nonprofit. They seem to do social really, really well, followed by food and drinks. Other categories, as you can see, maybe utilities, pharma, not so well. They do it, but not as good as the other guys do. So this was quite an insight for us from this study, which I think was quite cool. As we look at this, we said, so what is the thing that's going to make this successful for whichever category you are in, yeah? And the key word that we say is, it's shareability. You have to create content that people want to share. And so our next challenge was, how do you create stuff that people want to share? Are there themes, are there ideas that work across all these cases that we've been studying about? And the answer is yes. We came up with about 7 key themes we think work out really well. So what makes content shareable? None of this will probably come as a surprise. It shouldn't be rocket science. It's the stuff we already do. But it's kind of cool to look at it from a list perspective, right? Number 1, shareable content. It's about breaking rules. It's about taboos and so on. So if you can do that, people like that. Number 2, it enabled users to co-create. Now, I've been working with a lot of clients for the past several years, and this is a tough one for many of them because they say, look, we have invested in our brand. We have spent an enormous amount of money. We've been building it up for 10 years, 15, 20 years. The last thing we want to do is let go of our brand. All of a sudden, you're making YouTube videos, you're on Twitter, and we can't control that anymore. And marketers are scared to death about that. They say, what can we do to beat that? The answer, there's many answers to that. One that has stuck out in my head again was back at Social Media Week in Singapore, where we had one of the head guys at Coca-Cola. And he said, okay, let's talk about this. If you go into YouTube, you type in Coca-Cola, you know how many videos you're going to get? Any guesses? 100 million? No? 300 million videos on Coca-Cola. And he said, you know how much we at Coke actually do? Less than 10%. So only 10% of is content created by Coke or for Coke. The other 90% is from people making videos about Coke. And the question was asked, well, how do you manage that? How do you get people to say the right things about Coke? You got to be able to build something. And Leonardo's answer was very simple. He just said, we make the brand idea super simple. You can't get it wrong. And the brand idea, as many of you know, and I saw it up there on the wall, is open happiness. That's it, open happiness. That's the very simple format. And it's in everything we do, every marketing campaign across the world, every ad is about open happiness. And so if you can do that, you start seeing the videos doing that. And his hint was, just make it super simple, and your people will create a thing that will work out. It won't hurt you as much as you think it does. The third attribute that was very common in many of these case studies was this idea of it's user-friendly. Someone can use it for something. It saves time, it saves money. And one of the best examples I can share with you is this product, which is the Nike Fuel Band. Hugely successful for Nike. And what I like about it is that, Nike didn't create the thing you wear on yourself that counts calories for you. That's been around for a while. They weren't the first ones to put stuff online when you do that. That's been around for a while as well. But what they did is they changed the mindset. They made it into a game. They said, okay, count your calories, you get fuel points, upload it to your Facebook, your friends will comment on it, et cetera, and it becomes a thing that you really like. It's an app, it's a social media aspect that people use. It serves some purpose when trying to meet goals for their physical fitness or what they use. So that's a really good example of what we say when we talk about making things usable, yeah? Some utility to it. The other ones are quite quick. Advocated a cause that provoked or inspired. This is probably a reason why those government and nonprofits do so well with social media. I'll show you an example of that coming up. Of course, use humor. People like to share funny things. Yeah. 6, they made quirky use of celebrities. And I've been seeing a lot of ads coming out of India, which has obviously a lot of Bollywood people doing silly things. But this is something that for the analysis we did over the last 5 years was quite common. Quirky use of celebrities. Don't take it so seriously. And finally, deployed media surprisingly. Yeah? So if I had to create a magical list of the things you should think about that we've seen from our evidence, these are the 7 key themes that we started running across hundreds of different case studies in our analysis. So what's the takeaway of this? The idea is that, look, again, no surprise, consumers have changed. They control everything. They control what they watch, when they watch, how they watch it. And so for us in the creative field, in the digital field, in the media field, what we need to do is take this next model very seriously, right? Paid, owned, and earned media. Nothing new. People have been toying about this for some years right now, but what we found in our study was that this is the part you have to get right. Yeah, you're going to pay money for advertising. You're going to own a lot of media now because of social media on your website. And you're going to hopefully get some earned media from the public as well. So I'll show you an example of how this works really, really well. But this is the key, remember, thing that we saw a lot in our study. Very simple takeaways, really. And we had like 10, so I just chose 3. Number 1, it's about sharing. Yeah. Number 2, it's about using insight to create currency. So those 7 things about making things shareable. Use your insight that you have about your consumers. And the third point, which I've not talked about, but it makes complete sense, which is consumers as heroes, not the brand as heroes. Almost every one of these cases that we studied had this aspect of it's the consumer, not the brand. Yeah, put them first. Which leads me to the fun part of the presentation, so case studies, right? 3 themes I want to talk to you about today: TV, digital. I want to talk about Facebook for a bit, and then I want to talk to you about, is social media better for loyalty or reach? Okay. Right. So TV and digital, best friends forever. Talking to a lot of people, there's always been this idea about TV and digital. You got the esteemed people who know TV very well. They're a bit older. They're like, TV is king, and in many countries, of course, it's king. The way they think about marketing is different, and we're serious marketers. We're serious advertisers. And then you got the guys in digital. They're usually younger, wearing high tops and skinny jeans and all these kind of things and crazy hair. And they're sitting in the back saying, oh, you guys on TV, you don't know what's happening in the future. Things have changed significantly. We got some crazy concepts. We're going to put it online. And by the way, people can't even measure really what we do effectively, so who cares, right? Tends to cause a bit of suspicion from both houses. The TV guys are taking things seriously, digital not so much. And there has been, in many cases, this sort of who wins the battle. But if it wasn't TV versus social, but it was TV plus social, what would that look like? Yeah, and I'm going to show you that. This is the better way of doing things. So let me introduce, and that's a small slide, but let me introduce you to a friend of ours at work, Martin Weigel, who is the head of planning for Wieden Kennedy Amsterdam. You must have heard of him. He wrote something that was quite fascinating. I just lifted it for the presentation. He said, if you think of TV in this way, and you think of digital in that way, you put the 2 together, you come out with magic. So what is the this and what is the that? And that's what I'm going to show you now. So he said, TV's role is like this. It's about signposting. Yeah? Direct people to somewhere else. That's what TV should be used for. Number 2, ignition. There should be a longer experience with a brand or a campaign, but use it as igniting. 3, fuel. Intensify that interest in content that you will find and experience elsewhere. And finally, he said, TV should be used as an explainer, elaborating why you're doing what you're doing with other interactions. So simple. So that's TV. When you think about digital, completely different. It's about giving people things to share. That's a goal. Okay. Number 2, giving people things to do. 3, giving people something to help answer questions that they may have about whatever your brand is selling. And the 4th, it's about giving them something to explore. This is sort of the thinking behind why is something shareable, why is social successful. And of course, the 5th point, which is the point of almost anything, which is make that interest go to purchase. If you can do these 2 things well together, the IPA has done a study where they say that increases your effectiveness by over 10%. So it's a metric. There's some idea and proof that this could work if you can get it done right. But this is what we think, how people can start thinking about TV versus digital. It's TV plus digital. The next question is, well, this is nice on paper and on screen. What does it look like in real life? Is there an example? And of course, we have plenty. So let me start with this one. This is the one I'm going to share. Yo Valley, which is a very interesting company. I don't know if you've heard of this. They are a milk and yogurt company in England. They're from the west part of the country. And this is Tim. This is his mom, Mary. Tim and Mary Mead. It's a family-owned dairy business. They're not very big. They have big ambition. And their thinking was, people talk about organic, and they're snooty, and they're arrogant. They go to the organic shop, and they buy the organic things. We don't want that. We want everyone to enjoy organic. The pricing shouldn't be an issue. But people have got to get excited. I mean, this is not a sexy category. It's milk and yogurt. It's very basic. It's not very, you don't really think too much about this. So they said to their agency, BBH, help us, okay? So BBH met them, and this is what their life was like, okay? This is an actual sort of numbers for them. The big guys, Dannon, Mueller, Arla, they are spending obviously a lot of money for marketing. They have a huge share of voice. And you see the poor guys at Yo Valley. I mean, they spend £1 million a year. That's their entire marketing budget. Share of voice, 3%. Huge, 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 huge challenge for these guys. So we start talking to BBH. They start talking to BBH, rather. And they said, help us get a message. So the guys from the agency went to the farms, looked at the cows, looked at the areas. Like, this is the selling point. The fact that it's open, free range, organic, this is the key selling point. So they came up with a fantastic creative idea that balances TV and online, okay? But here was the catch. They said, okay, great idea, we got it, we love it. This is what I need you to do. I need you to give me 100% of your annual budget for this one campaign, okay? All of it, $1 million. It's £1 million rather. Everything on one campaign, runs for 12 weeks, and we're going to give you results that you're going to really love. You can imagine the reaction of the family thinking, we're tiny, and this is all of our money for the year. All agencies tend to say these things, but this is a big bet. And the idea from BBH's perspective was this concept of Super Bowl Super Social. Have you guys heard of that? Super Bowl Super Social. They're saying, we're going to give you a Super Bowl moment. One event, one TV show that we're going to make it big for you. And then we're going to back it up with social media, right? So in the UK, there's about 2 or 3 shows that everyone kind of watches. The biggest one of all in the UK is The X Factor. About 15 million people every Saturday night gather together and watch The X Factor. And so this was their version of Super Bowl. They're like, okay, Super Bowl, here we go. We're going to do a tie-in deal with ITV, which is the channel that owns, that broadcasts X Factor. And they went to them and said, look, we're giving you all the money. Can you give us some good spots on the show? Tie it in with some online stuff you guys are doing, because it's a huge, huge bet for what we're about to do. So the concept was simple. X Factor, I need an ad that fits with X Factor, so music, talking about organic, be a little bit funny and catchy, because you can only buy so many spots with £1 million. And so they came up with a 2-minute ad that was broadcast on the X Factor, and this is what it looked like.
The sun is up, the milk is chilled. It's gonna be a good one. Yo, I'm rolling in my Massey on a summer's day, chugging cold milk while I'm baling hay. Yo Valley's approach is common sense. Harmony in nature takes precedence. My ride's my pride, that's why you never see it dirty. And I love it here, man, that's why I'm never leaving early. I'm looking good in my cap and my shirt. I'm representing for the West so hard it hurts. Yeah, we make this look easy, cause we're proper modern with this farming, believe me. Wind turbines are shining, baby. In solar farming, no buts, no maybes. And yeah, we're down with the Soil Association, and we do lots of what? Conservation, sustain, maintain, it ain't a thing. We set the bar, real leaders by far. Yo Valley, we change the game, it will never be the same. Yo Valley, big up your chest, represent the West.
This isn't fictional farming, it's realer than real. You won't find milkmaidens, that's no longer the deal. I'm in my wax coat and boots and proper farmer jars. Now look, you urban folks done stole our style. I'm not a city dweller, me I like to keep it country. The air is clean and all those cars will make me jumpy. It's different strokes for different folks, my man. Just enjoy the results of what we do with the land.
Check out Daisy, she's a proper cow, a pedigree Frisian with know-how. Her and her girls, they've got their own name. We treat them good, they give us the cream. Yo Valley, we change the game, it will never be the same. Yo Valley, big up your chest, represent the West.
Big up your chest, represent the West.
Fantastic campaign, isn't it? I mean, it was funny, it was to the point, it was catchy. And I love the simple thing at the end, which it said, just search Yo Valley. That's it, search it. When you did, you got this. And the entire social media plan was built on the back of that. Their LinkedIn, their YouTube, their Facebook, the owl that you saw on the video as well was a character. They had this, farming rapping, farmer rapping campaign behind it. It was really, really fantastic what they did. And it was a big moment for them because that £1 million bought them this, which is 7 spots on the main show, 9 spots on the Extra Factor, which is the follow-up show to the main show, and their ITV tie-up online. Yeah? So this is all they got. The ecosystem of that paid, earned, and owned system looks like this. It looks complicated. We did our best with making it happen, but you can see everything was with ITV and, of course, Google AdWords. So when you did search Yo Valley, you found Yo Valley. Huge amount of stuff on the owned media, and the earn was absolutely fantastic. The BBC went over, they talked to Tim Mead and say, hey, I saw this ad, it's hilarious, what's the thinking behind it? So they got a lot of great coverage from the press as a result of that campaign, yeah? So what does that do, actually, as far as results are concerned? The results are absolutely lovely. I mean, they went from 3% to 71% brand awareness. Over 500,000 new homes have started to use Yo Valley organic milk. 15% increase in sales, and they found that people who online were more likely to buy, 15% more likely to buy or try this new brand Yo Valley than just watching it on television. So they had some fantastic results out of it. And that song actually went, they put it up on iTunes, and they ended up getting 30,000 downloads on that. So it's a kind of little funny joke about that. But it made it sensible, it made it real. This has been over a year old, this case, but it is absolutely kind of has all that stuff that we need. So going back to what Martin had said before, it pretty much hits everything he talked about, right? It was about signposting, igniting, and fueling interest. It was about giving people something to share this video, things to do with the rapping farmers, questions to answer, explore, and of course, purchase, which is a very good thing. So absolutely excellent example from our perspective about a company that's not fancy, has a lot of money. They put everything in one big bet, and it actually worked out for them. So speaking of hype, Facebook. I've been told by work to say that we have no opinion on Facebook. We're just going to tell you some things that we've seen around. Because this is a very big issue on Facebook. Everyone talks about Facebook. I was around last night. I talked to a couple of people like, yeah, advertising on Facebook, what does it mean? A lot of questions around it. There is an enormous amount of hype on Facebook. Is it effective? And that's what I want to talk to you about now, okay? So this is sort of the thing, right? I mean, even the brands that I talk to, we need likes, we need fans of our Facebook page, we need people to engage with us, and they spend an enormous amount of money trying to get this right, trying to get people like this D&G, 6.6 million fans and likes. If you can see behind the Gabbana, about 99,000 people talking about this. That's actually a metric that Facebook uses, PTAT, I guess, which is anytime you like something, you comment, you check in. This is about 100,000 people on PTAT. And people think, oh, now we did it. We have a great Facebook campaign. We're engaging with our clients, with our users, and they're happy about it. Or are they? Is it true? So the academic community of Ehrenberg Bass Institute of Marketing Science, I don't know if you guys have heard of Ehrenberg Bass. They're really brainy people. It's part of the University of South Australia. And they said, hold on a second. Let's see if we can figure out some way to measure engagement, and is it true that engagement gives you loyalty? Okay? So this is the hypothesis they were working with. Facebook has the ability to engage and support deep relationships. These relationships lead to greater loyalty. That was the starting point, okay? We assume it is true. Then they did the study. 6 weeks, October to November 2011. There was this mathematical, obviously, algorithm, which I won't begin to tell you about because I'm not that smart. I don't really get it. But they basically took the PTAT scores. Then they went and said, what are the top 200 brands on Facebook as measured by the number of fans? And they talked about, and they did some numbers about how many people join a Facebook page every week, et cetera, et cetera. And then they came up with their results. So top 200 brands on Facebook, how engaging. The results I thought were absolutely fascinating. Number one thing that we saw was, in any given week, less than 0.5% of Facebook fans actually engaged on their pages. Whether they liked something, they commented, they checked in, less than 0.5%, which is tiny. The next question is, well, surely it must matter if you're banking or something. Maybe the category makes a big difference in this analysis. Well, according to this study, category type doesn't play any difference whatsoever. So we drew it out. And it kind of looks like this. So at the top, yeah, not many people really engaging with the banks and the financial services. industry. Cars, as you can imagine, was quite high. Now, that's a pretty big difference between 0.19 and 0.98, but the concept is it's still less than 1%. And so that was quite fascinating to see that this study, at least for this portion of it, said that you can be a clothing company, you can be a car company, you can be a bank. The engagement level is still fairly low. So then the next thing is, well, surely these passion brands, right? The Dolce & Gabbanas, the Chanels, and all these things, surely you must engage more with them. Turns out, not really. They're pretty much exactly the same numbers across all categories, which is, I think, a pretty fascinating sort of study and results of that. Still 0.64 as the average engagement rate that comes across. And in fact, of the 200 top brands, only one had engagement above 2%. And there's about 10 between 1 and 2%. That's it. That's it. I like how Karen and Jennifer write their study, so I'm just going to tell you what they said. Very simply, the results and their commentary about their study was, consumers don't love their brands. And I'm sure a lot of people will argue about that, but they don't love their brands. We are loyal switchers rather than brand loyals, okay? They say, look, if several brands within a category satisfy us, why should we be in a committed relationship with any one of them, right? Knowing this, knowing that consumers don't marry the brand, rather they like to, kind of date a small selection of brands within the category, maybe, just maybe, as marketers, we should take the foot off the pedal and lower our expectations of brand engagement on social media. It's an interesting insight. People may argue about that, but I thought this was quite interesting to say, maybe it isn't about engagement or loyalty, maybe it's about something else. What is the something else? One might argue it's reach, like TV. Reach out and get to the consumers. That's it. Don't focus so much on loyalty and engagement. It's just about reach. That you can measure in many ways. Yeah? So to kind of close up this section, what does that look like? So let me introduce you to a company called ROM. ROM chocolate bar from Romania. How many of you guys have heard of ROM before? Yeah? Okay, not too many hands, great. I try to find the most obscure cases we've got, just to make sure that this will be a new thing for you. I love this case. It's one of my favorite cases of all time. And it has all the cool things about a great dramatic story. You had David and Goliath. You had David being Rom. It's a chocolate bar, been around for 50 years, in Romania, very Romanian. There's the flag of Romania on the packaging. And then you had Goliath, and in this case, Mars had come into the market. And they were aggressively marketing Snickers. And Snickers was cool. It was for the young people. It was awesome. It was, they were doing price promotions, and they were doing all sorts of events and making the chocolate bar bigger. You get 20% more. ROM couldn't do that. It was impossible for them. They had the money. They didn't have the marketing spend. They had this old, ROM, flag sort of ideology to it. And people simply weren't buying it, to the point where they were in serious trouble.
The ads directed everybody to the campaign's website and Facebook page to join the debate. People assaulted the internet by the thousands to defend the Romanian flag and values. More than 10 causes started simultaneously on Facebook. Dozens of blogs commented and YouTube films fought for the old ROM.
I live in Romania. I drive a Romanian car. And I eat the most traditional Romanian chocolate bar ROM. Then why the fuck am I speaking English?
Moreover, supporters even organized a flash mob. Our specially created team responded in real time to the comments and fed the debate.
E vorba de o campanie ceva mai uștită. Cineva își bate joc de noi.
After one intense patriotic week, we brought back the old ROM.
Hello again! Rumor has it you're not at all happy with the American flag on ROM. It was a joke. I'm just funny. ROM stays ROM no matter what. Romanian flag and all.
The debate extended into primetime TV shows and public events. And as the final move, we launched the ROM anthem featuring real people. In the first 2 weeks only, the campaign reached 67% of Romanians and generated €300,000 worth of free publicity. In the first 6 days alone, ROM's website had thousands of comments, Facebook fans rose by 300%, and supporters launched petitions. All brand image indicators have exploded. But most importantly, ROM ousted the leader to become Romanian's most popular chocolate bar with 79% increase. In the end, ROM outperformed the markets by 20% in the most relevant channel, while the American ROM sold out.
Fantastic case, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant at what they did. And you saw the results. They made something shareable. They made it funny. Make fun of Americans. That's always a good laugh, it looks like. And this is one of the things that really worked well for, again, a struggling chocolate manufacturer in Romania that just got social right. And going back to the beginning of the presentation, when we talk about reach and shareability, they again nailed it on about 5 of the things that our study overall showed. Broke rules, made it funny, used media surprisingly, 10 Facebook pages that users were putting up together because they're proud of their brand. Absolutely fantastic results. So that's wrong, and that's about reach rather than loyalty. They don't have any loyalty. So to sum up, you have to have a summary. So I have a very, very quick summary, key takeaways for Monday morning. And it's very light, it's very easy. Right? Number 1, social media, it's here to stay. We know that. We see more and more people are using it. Don't be afraid. Take the lessons that we've learned in the past and kind of apply them to the future. Number 2, the key center point of social is shareability. Make it shareable, okay? 3, TV plus social, not TV or social. TV plus social. Another great quote from Coca-Cola over here. You have to make it the big center point of all marketing. And then finally, reach over loyalty and engagement. And we found this quote from Facebook, believe it or not, talking about, yeah, you know what, maybe it is about reach. So quite interesting topics right there. So that's my presentation. Hopefully you find some good things to do. And hopefully as you start thinking about these ideas, these lists based on evidence that we've been able to put together, you might come up with something rather unexpected. So thank you very much for your time. If you're having some questions. Sorry? Okay. So we're done? All right, well, I'm done then. Great. Thank you very much, guys. See you.
So can we have the AV first, please, and then we'll move on to our moderator session.
इस उड़ा के लिए हर दिन सूरज उगे जग में हो रोशनी सच संग रहे अब सदा के लिए हमारी जान पत्रिका हमारी जान राजस्थान पत्रिका हमारी जान.
Okay, bunch of interesting questions. So this is from Ankit Singh of Orchard Advertising. And the question is, if social media is only for reach rather than loyalty, then where does the need of social media fit into the Indian context, where internet reach is just 15 to 20%, while TV alone reaches almost 90% homes?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, I'll clarify, it is not only about reach. It is perhaps the big goal you should be going after. It's not only about reach, of course, it's about loyalty and engagement. And even in India, you're looking at, I think, 124 million internet users are here in the market, which is huge. It's bigger than most countries. And I think the lesson is, yes, in many traditional markets, TV will still be best. In Southeast Asia, we see it everywhere. In Indonesia, in Malaysia, in China, we're seeing that TV still is the big thing for them. But the point is, it will change. More and more people will get into technology. That first statistic, about 6 billion people with phones, will eventually switch to smartphones at some point. And even if you only have 10 or 12% internet penetration rates here, that's still a lot of people. And it's probably the younger people who you're trying to get your product out in front of anyway. So,
the next question is similar,
okay.
But it's got a, it's from somebody called Ranjita of Central University in Gulbarga, Karnataka. It says India is the land of about 60 to 80% rural population. And how does social or digital media bring about a renaissance in the socioeconomic status of the bottom of the pyramid in India? So how do you think it, because we talk about the internet being the force of good and empowerment and disintermediation of all the middlemen that come in. So do you have any thoughts of how the bottom of the pyramid can really be transformed in India through the internet?
I don't. I mean, it's a very interesting question as always, and I think that it really is depending on the access to technology, right? So even if the bottom, I mean, who would have thought that someone who doesn't have electricity still has a mobile phone and they can call anyone they want in the world? And that is a trend that's really increased very recently, very rapidly, because it's cheaper. Technology is cheaper. You have to wait, I think, for that tipping point where you have that lower bottom period that starts to use it in a more active way. It's going to be through the same things that every marketing uses, music and so on. I think that probably you just have to wait for that. But as you wait, it's also good to be prepared, which is what it's about.
You know, if I may just add a comment on this from my side, on this question. I think the transformation in the bottom of the pyramid has begun to happen, not necessarily in the digital and social medium, but the mobile, for instance, is becoming a force for the good. You know, there are crop predictions, there are market prices, et cetera, that's coming in. So it may not be traditionally bottom of the pyramid, but it is having an impact in the non-traditionally urban segment within the country.